Well, Gupta-linked companies, Trillian and McKinsey, are yet to respond to the legal action taken against them by the NPA. An order is being served on Trillian and McKinsey to freeze assets worth around 1.6 billion rand. Well, to unpack this and help us understand a little bit more about this development, we're joined in the studio by ENCA specialist reporter Karyn Maughan. Karyn, good morning, and thank you very much for your time. I was looking at the newspaper headlines earlier today and Morning yesterday. The Mercury in Durban's headline this morning is "Mission to Find Stolen 50 billion rand." And I was thinking, that's a lot of money that could be used for something else. And to think about the fact that possibly this money went missing with the involvement of some state-owned companies and some of these consultancy firms is shocking, to say the least.
Well, I mean, the acting head of the AFU operations, who we spoke to yesterday, Nox Molele, basically said that their priority as the asset forfeiture unit is to recover the billions lost to the fiscus, not just through some accidental thing, but through blatant corruption, fraud, racketeering and money laundering. And the head of the acting head of the specialized commercial crimes unit saying that as part of their cases, and there are 8 legs to these prosecutions in addition to the asset forfeiture litigation, that they're actually looking at potential racketeering charges. So you're talking about whoever is implicated, because we haven't had names, obviously, you know, there's a lot of rumor and speculation, but whoever is implicated being part of a criminal enterprise, and the charges, the kind of sentences you face if you are convicted under POCA, which is the law under which these asset forfeiture applications are being sought, are very serious. 15 years, 25 years. I mean, these are really crimes that are taken very seriously by our
Now, according to the Assets Forfeiture Unit, the AFU, I mean, let's just remind our viewers which state-owned companies are involved, because the McKinsey we've mentioned, Trillian we've mentioned. Which other companies, enterprises are involved in this?
Well, the first case that we know of is this one that's been before the High Court. An order was granted on the 15th of December. That order is now, you know, been served on the parties, and they will have to respond. That matter involved 1.6 billion rand in contracts that were awarded by Eskom. But here's the kicker. According to the court papers, without a valid contract and without any work being done whatsoever. 1.6 billion rand. And the affidavit that has been filed by the head of the AFU and one of his main investigators details how they used the parliamentary inquiry, Dan, the evidence that were given by Eskom employees, for instance, about the invoices that were basically used to get this money. The fact that these payments were made within 3 days of the invoices being put in, and that there was no due diligence done, even though, and also that obviously there wasn't a contract in place for this payment to be made in the first place.
So people who were making those payments like within 3 days, I'm sure they're going to have to be investigated on whose order were you doing that, because there are processes in any financial department on how you receive an invoice, how you process an invoice, who approves, who releases payment, and all those sorts of things.
Well, the name that has come up in one of the, in terms of one of the invoices, of course, is Anaj Singh, who is the CFO of Eskom, and is a very, closely, or perceived to be a closely Gupta-aligned person, who was going to supply us all with that detailed tell-all document about the, for instance, the 10,000 rand massage that he apparently got from the Guptas at the Oberon Hotel. We are still waiting, and obviously, we're waiting with bated breath to see what exactly happens to his kind of career trajectory. But you know what the shocking thing is that there was a level of arrogance to what happened here, where people weren't even trying to cover their tracks. There wasn't even a contract. There wasn't even an attempt to really provide, the AFU says there was an attempt subsequent with McKinsey sending that letter to Eskom to seek for payment for Trillian, to create what they described as a veil of legitimacy. But what happened here is so blatant that it displays a level of arrogance of people who clearly thought they were never going to be held accountable.
And this is leading me to the next question. McKinsey themselves, as an example, were reporting that they haven't yet responded to this legal action. There were other reports that they had reported to pay back some of the money.
Advocate Molele yesterday said that both Trillian and McKinsey had indicated a willingness to pay back the money, and that he believed that the money would actually be recovered and repaid within the next 2 days. That's what he told us yesterday. But what also, obviously when you have people on affidavit, including himself, saying that allegations of corruption, fraud, money laundering have been confirmed through the NPA's own investigation process. Is it simply enough that that money is repaid? Of course, it will have to be repaid with 15.5% interest. That's one of the conditions. But the kind of things that are described as part of this investigation really will put pressure on the NPA to pursue criminal prosecutions of the people involved. I
was just about to ask you, are we going to see that happening? We are hearing things like, as you said, this is just one of the cases. I mean, is this the beginning really of the unraveling of the rot that has set in our state-owned enterprises? What's your sense, having covered a number of similar type of cases involving allegations of corruption, racketeering, money laundering and fraud?
Well, you see, remember with asset forfeiture, when they utilize the preservation process, they can do it on a civil basis. So it's not the criminal process of beyond reasonable doubt. It's on the balance of probabilities. And what is so amazing is that I think South Africans for a very long time felt that there was this torrent of evidence and allegations and nothing was what was happening. But through the work of the public protector, through the work of the churches, through the work of the academics, through the tireless and work of the MPs in the state capture inquiry, all that evidence has produced a wealth of stuff that can be presented to courts to say, look, these were people that were involved, this was the evidence that they gave. On the balance of probabilities, these payments were either the instrumentality of an offense, potentially a bribe, or they were the proceeds of crime, and preservation orders should be granted. So the courts and the AFU will be instrumental in hitting these people who are implicated in these crimes that have taken so much from South Africa right where it hurts the most, and that's their pocket.
Thank you very much. ENCA Special Reporter Karyn Maughan.